So what's up YouTube? In today's video, we're going to talk about how you can become a senior software engineer. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Kenny. I'm a senior iOS engineer. Also, if you're new, make sure you go ahead and subscribe below, hit the like button, it definitely helps out the channel. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. So when it comes to being a senior software engineer, many companies have very crazy, sometimes a broad spectrum of what they would even consider a senior software engineer. Some companies, especially depending on how small it is, you may be a senior software engineer after just being there for a full year. And in other companies, you need to have at least 10 years of experience to even be considered senior. So from my perspective, I will give you guys what I think a true senior software engineer looks like. And it's not going to go strictly based off of years of experience, but years of experience does have a big impact on you truly, in my opinion, being a senior software engineer. So one of the biggest things I would say that makes you a senior software engineer truthfully is the fact that you have strong leadership skills. So when having strong leadership skills, what I'm honestly meaning is the fact that you being a true leader to your team. And what I'm meaning by a true leader, I mean that you're someone that you're mentoring other engineers on your team, and you're someone that other engineers can look towards for help. So for example, if you're working on a team, say you have 5, 6, 7, other 8 engineers, there's a very big chance if you're truly that senior leader that other people are going to ping you or hit you up to say like, hey, I'm stuck on this problem. Is there a solution to this? Can I get some help around this or this, and so forth. And you should be the type of person that, one, you're someone that people can easily go talk to. You're somebody that someone can seek a resolution to whatever problem they have. And if you don't know the solution to the problem, you know how to point them in the right direction. In many cases, a lot of people want to consider themselves senior, but at the same time, other people don't look towards you in order to solve an issue or solution or get to some kind of solution. And you should be that person. Even if, like I said, if you don't have the answer to the problem, you know how to point someone in the correct direction on how to get the answer. Also, you should be someone that looks towards someone getting towards the end of that answer or solution. And being a great leader is a big thing when it comes to being a senior software engineer. You want to be an impactful leader. One thing I would say is anyone who's been a true senior or have worked with a true senior engineer, you notice the impact when that senior leaves the team. Tasks take a little bit longer. You don't have that person to go to ask questions for anymore. You really miss that key element of, man, we don't have this person on our team anymore. And not only do you feel as an engineer, but product feels it. Your project manager feels it. Like the whole team as a whole feels that huge impact once a senior engineer actually leaves the team. So having them on the team also brings that same impact. Far as if you are truly senior or you're wanting to become senior, you're going to have some kind of an impact on your team with you actually being there. And one of the biggest components to that is bringing forth that leadership skill. So another big thing with you being senior or wanting to become senior is you actually have to think about the bigger picture of whatever problem you're trying to solve. So let me give a great example for this, because I know this may seem a little weird to try to formulate, but say if you're an iOS developer and you're working on a task, whereas say you're using a collection view and you're scrolling, but someone comes to you and say like, hey, we need the cells inside the collection view to be a larger size for ads. We want to add ads into our application. All right. You may come to it and say like, okay, I know how to add ads into the application. So let me go ahead and try to write up some code to get that to work. But you find out that the ads aren't going to be the same exact size as the rest of the cells inside the collection view. So your ads may be much bigger, maybe much smaller. You don't know what the actual size is. So you may take it upon yourself to go on Stack Overflow, look for a solution, and the first solution you find is the one you just end up going with. If you're truly senior, that's not the route you're probably going to go. If anything, you may take a step back. You may ask more clarifying questions around what the ads look like, what size are the ads, and then from there, you may analyze this, think about the fact that, okay, if we're going to be showing different sizes for an ad, and for those who aren't iOS engineers or iOS developers and by me giving this spiel, think of it like this. Every collection, inside of a collection, the cells are usually the exact same size. So when you're scrolling, most of the cells are always going to be the same size. But if they're not the same size and they're going to be different sizes, with a collection view, there's more work that you're going to have to put forth in order to get those cells to show up correctly and not look weird, especially when it comes to being able to see those cells pop up on the screen. So with that being said, if you're a senior engineer, you probably want to go with the first solution that I mentioned earlier. You wouldn't do that. What you would normally do is you would sit down, talk to product, and see, is there a better way you guys can come about a solution with this problem? The biggest problem is the fact, again, the cells aren't the same size anymore. 2, you don't know what size the cell is going to be based on the ad. It may be one large size, it may be smaller, and you don't know the dimensions or anything like that. So what you may say is, before you even run into some kind of other solution on Stack Overflow, you may want to say like, hey, is there a way we can talk to the backend team to see if they can give us the fixed size of each of the ads that we're going to be displaying inside the application? By using your intuition to do something like that, that's a much better approach versus just trying to run with a solution at hand. And anyone who's probably listening to this and they are senior, you probably get what I'm saying. A lot of times with most engineers, they want to just run to a solution to the problem versus truly sitting down and thinking about the problem itself and thinking about what are the possible solutions that we could come up with. And then from there, thinking about, okay, with this solution, is this something we could have in the application forever? How would this be maintainable? How would this impact anyone who's junior that comes on a team later down the line if they have to make changes to this? You think about the overall application, not just the one small part of the solution that you're seeing at hand. By having the backend give you the correct size and we're parsing that, and you see it come up inside the application as the user is scrolling, that's a much better solution to work with because we know the size and it's easier to make sure the cell size are correct versus you trying to do some crazy math or you're trying to come up with some off the wall solution just to get the size of the cell to work correctly versus just simply saying, hey, backend, give us the correct size prior to us showing the cell. So that's just that. So another big thing with being a senior engineer is you have a pretty broad knowledge around architecture. Now, obviously, not every engineer is going to be super great when it comes to architecture, but this kind of piggybacks off the first point I made earlier around the fact that you're going to think about the entire application versus the one problem at hand. Also, when it comes down to architecture, you can see problems coming down the road prior to someone else seeing them that's probably more so junior or even mid on your team. So you could look at the entire application as a whole and see that, hey, it'll be best if we implement this new design pattern inside of our application because of the fact if we implement this new design pattern, it'll make things easier, not only for me, but other engineers on the team. I can go through the process of showing them how to use this new design pattern or design pattern that we want to implement inside the application. And by doing that, again, it'll make things much easier, not only for you, for the rest of the team. It makes the code quality much better. It makes things easier when it comes down to reviewing code, just because you don't have a bunch of bugs that could probably pop out of this. But in utilizing a new design pattern or design pattern that the team as a whole agree upon, it just makes things much simpler. And again, as a senior engineer, you're thinking about the bigger picture of the whole application versus one portion of the application you're currently working on. And that's a big thing that I think most people tend to forget when you're truly senior. And in all honesty, that's not something you're gonna get if you only have 1 or 2 years of experience, which is why some larger companies typically say that you need to have about 10 years of experience to truly be senior. And that's only because there are too many avenues and lanes you just can't see. And it's only because truly enough, you have to have a lot of experience. Without the experience, then unfortunately, you're not going to see the solution. So once you have the experience, you'll be able to see problems prior to them even happening. Similar to what the point I made earlier, when it came down to the collection view. The reason for me, I can see the issue with the collection view and I know to talk to the back end is because I've been that junior engineer to say like, oh, I can just come up with a solution and then run into a solution and adding that into the code base. You later down the line see problems that you run into that you're like, oh shoot, like now I have this problem and this problem and this problem. Whereas if I would have just talked to the back end first, that would resolve all of my issues and I wouldn't even have to come up with some kind of crazy solution to no extra code was needed. So it's little things like that you have to pay attention to when you're actually senior or trying to become senior. So one of the big last points I'll say with trying to become senior is the fact that being a senior engineer means you do know how to work independently. So being a senior engineer, in a lot of cases, you may be given a task that is big, that needs to be worked on. And in all honesty, the big thing with being a senior engineer is that task may come to you, and the project manager, as well as your head manager, they're gonna want to still have great code quality. They're still gonna wanna have whatever the application is built effectively and be able to deliver it, as well as you should be able to handle whatever task that is at hand. With also being senior, if you're given a task or a feature, say that you're working on, you may have zero knowledge about the feature. But being senior means that you have the capability to go out and learn whatever it is. You know to read documentation, you know to make sure you can go through and read thoroughly through the documentation. If there's a tutorial out there, you'll read through the tutorial, or watch the tutorial rather. You'll pick up books, you'll try to gain knowledge, especially if it's something that's new, a new feature, something that's just been created or is now being introduced. Say you're implementing a new third-party framework or something like that, you'll do a lot of research around that third-party framework. Not only just seeing like how it works, but also looking at what problems that other people run into with implementing this third-party framework, what issues are currently there, what features do it give you that it may impact the whole application as a whole. There's just a numerous amounts of things that like almost like a checklist you go through, knowing that you're trying to become senior or that you are senior, that you look at, that you say like, okay, again, how does this impact the entire application as a whole? Making sure that this isn't just going to be focused in just one small area, but how are other people going to manage this? If I leave the team and go somewhere else, say you go to a different company or different project, will anybody else on the team be completely lost? Will they know how to use this? Is this complicated? Is it easy to work with? Is it easy to maintain? All those things usually go through your mind when it comes down to this. And again, you want to make sure that you can work independently on this feature, project, whatever it is, on your own, be able to ship it on time, get things working correctly. And it's something that the other people on your team can work with and build upon. You don't want to implement code that obviously someone who's junior who come behind you have no earthly idea how something works. That's honestly not the best way to go about writing code. You want to write code that's easy to work with in small chunks. You want to push up good code quality again, and making sure that things are set up in a way where other people can work off of the code that you already have implemented. And you should be able to ship it on time. So with that being said, those are the main key points I would say with being a senior software engineer. Obviously, there are a ton of other things I probably didn't mention in this video, but I just wanted to bring those main points to you guys. Again, if you guys are senior or someone who's watching the video is senior, leave a comment below and just let me know like what's some other big tips that you guys recognize that makes you senior versus someone else, and we can talk about it down below. But I just want to thank you guys for watching the video. Again, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.